Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Better Know a Brush, a new series here on Adobe Live, which dives into the world of brushes. I'm Renee di Cherri. I'm the marketing manager for drawing and painting here at Adobe. And what we're going to do is take a deep dive into everything that is brush land, talk about how you can use them in your artwork, talk about how you can make ones that are more successful. They're much like colors. There's a million colors of the rainbow, but there's no wrong or right color to use. So today I've got Paul Topolos with me, and Paul is a very distinguished artist and matte painter who has worked at Lucasfilm, and he's also been at Pixar for the last couple years, yeah? And some of the films... 17, oh my goodness! And some of the films that he's worked on are Attack of the Clones, Ratatouille, and WALL-E. Paul has brought his favorite brushes today for building beautiful clouds, and they should be in your little chat window up there. So if you check on the other little tab, Paul has generously donated his brushes, and you're gonna follow along with us today on a really fun exercise. So Paul, talk to me about what it's like when a director does something, when he texts you a photo. It's late night, you're at home with your family, and the director's like, this is the perfect photo, and I want this for my sky. And now you've got to take this little crappy photo that the director's given you and create a beautiful matte painting that's going to be on the big silver screen. What do you do?
No, I know. It's, because I got just that. I got an iPhone photograph. The director had gone out bowling with his family, and all of a sudden he said, this is the sky. This is what I want.
This is what I want. And then you have to recreate it. That's your job as a matte painter, right?
Yes.
And so matte painting is sort of an old traditional style of painting that they did to simulate backgrounds. So in the ancient days of yore, they would have these painters paint on big pieces of glass and then move them back and forth to sort of create depth and simulate an actual background. Now today, we use Photoshop, and we use combinations of photos and 3D rendering, and also the incredible painting skills that Paul is going to show off today. So the director's texted us a crappy little photo, and we've got to make this happen. So how do we get started, Paul?
Well, I think one of the things that I do want to make the argument for is how important backgrounds are, how important skies are, because they're not just something behind you. There's an emotion to it. That colors have got emotion, composition. A sky can show composition. It can show you where to look. It can kind of show you colors and mood. Time of day is really important. So that's why all these things, all these things are like little hints that you can give people just within a sky. So don't shortchange them.
So
is my tip.
What I'm hearing is the background is not necessarily the background. Don't let it fade into the background.
No,
the background's important.
Yeah, I mean, it's all this stuff is important. I mean, obviously it's not as important as the main character, but all these things are echoing what the narrative is.
Yeah.
So, when I studied with this guy named Ian McCaig, he would always say, how do you show that? So if a sky is daytime, what kind of a day? What's going on in the story that you can help show? You can also help compositionally wise, have clouds pointing towards the main character, pointing towards where the character is going. So all these things, I mean, you wouldn't believe the thought and the arguments and that go into every single shot of a film.
That's incredible. I can't even imagine. And Ian McCaig, I'm so sorry, I didn't even let you get into a little bit about your background. Paul, tell us about yourself in your own words.
Well, I grew up in Northern California, Petaluma. I was born in the city.
Beautiful.
And I was horrible at sports.
Me too.
But the one thing I was okay at was drawing, and my dad was a repairman for Xerox, so we always had paper all around the house. And me and my brother would draw a lot. And I went to junior college, studied art and figure drawing, and that was something that I just had a love of drawing people. Went to school in England, came back, and I was unemployable, really. I was trying to do children's books, but what kind of changed my life was meeting this guy named Ian McCaig. I was already apprenticing with a great artist named Charles Pyle, who was doing traditional illustration. And then Ian was working in films and was working with directors like Ridley Scott, Neil Jordan, Coppola, Lucas, Spielberg.
Yeah.
And that was, just meeting him was very inspirational because I loved films as a kid.
Yeah.
And just, you were talking about matte paintings. I loved any kind of movie where you would see, I don't know, like Ben-Hur, you'd see ancient Rome. And I always wondered, like, how did they do that? And for me, one of the things was, I was 10 when Star Wars came out, the first Star Wars. And my mom would buy the art of books for me because she knew I liked them so much. And when you look at the art of books, you see the matte paintings, you see the sketches and the designs. And so all this stuff was just making me interested in art for film. Yeah. And when I met Ian, that was one of the first people that I met that was actually working in film. And that was when this little switch got flicked in my head of, I don't want to screw this up. I'm gonna draw and paint better than I ever thought that I could, because I want to do what this guy's doing. Yeah. And so he reacted well, and I got a job first at LucasArts Entertainment, which is the video game company. Yeah. And I was doing boards, and then learned Photoshop back in 1995.
Can you imagine Photoshop in 95, you guys?
There's no layers.
There were no layers.
And,
there were no layers.
I think you could have one undo, maybe.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, today we're in a very different situation, right?
Yeah.
You can have a million layers and a million brushes and a million different ways to make your picture. No. So I'm pretty excited to see what you're going to be making for us today. I'm going to let you get started here in Photoshop. Okay. And then what I'd like to do is actually say hi to the chat. And I'd like to remind everybody that we do a fun thing here at Adobe on Adobe Live called Chattin Win. And so you could win free stickers from Sticker Mule today. And you're going to see the falling brushes happen sometime during the stream. A mysterious midway point in the stream, some brushes will come down. And we're going to ask you to log in and chat, okay? So I just want to say hi to all our friends out there on the internet. And Paul, let's get painting.
Okay, so I've given you guys a bunny brush. So I thought I would just show you. This was actually a bunny cloud that we took in Emeryville.
Oh my gosh. This is
real
Pixar?
Cloud. Yeah, this is at Pixar.
Oh my gosh.
So just to begin with, we look at a lot of reference. We try and find out, where the scene is going to be. Mm-hmm. Again, like I was talking about before, just, what's the emotions of it. This is sort of a simple blue sky.
Yeah.
And like I'm saying, reference, get photographs. Even if you're doing something really stylized and crazy, find some crazy paintings or photographs from movies, just to even get yourself like a color palette, a sense of, just some inspirational stuff.
To not start from nothing. So this is our photo that our director sent us, while he was out with his family. He needs this bunny.
So what I'm going to do is just take the paint bucket. Mm-hmm. I'm going to dump blue. Mm-hmm. Then I'm going to get the gradient tool, and I'm going to select down below here. So this is just a simple sky gradient that we are going to, Oops.
You went it the other way around.
Yeah. Oops. I'm sorry,
No,
this is
I think I do my gradients like 100 times in a row, honestly. I'm like...
And I think the gradients are set slightly differently.
Looks nice. It looks just like that bunny picture.
Well, yeah, and we can do some things to... Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Get that gradient perfect. Keep going. This is all part of the process.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do, just thought I'd make things maybe a little bit more dramatic.
I like that a lot. And that's one of those choices that you can make when you have reference from a photo. You can choose to make it even more intense or less intense.
Yeah, and so we're going to keep this on its own layer. And then we're going to grab the bunny brush.
The bunny brush. Okay, so if you're out there following along and making a gradient, which I hope you are, this is one of the brushes that we gave to you, the bunny brush.
Yeah. So what I'm doing, and just to slightly digress, one of the good things about having reference is when you're first sort of starting, a lot of times we see things, I don't want to say in a cliche terms, but like when you're learning how to draw a figure, you do an eye just as,
Like an eye.
Yeah, just and eyes are a lot more complex.
Yeah. I think symbolic drawing is the term.
Symbolic, exactly.
Yeah.
No, because I remember being at Lucasfilm painting some clouds, and I was just going cliche. Well, yeah, and I was going white.
Yeah.
These clouds are not white.
Right. Right. What color really is it though?
Yeah. Well, so if we even look at just solid white.
Oh yeah.
That's way, way, way brighter. So
absolutely
so
true.
It's something I always have to fight with because I'm always thinking of high contrast.
Yeah.
This isn't so white.
Okay.
So anyway.
So with your bunny brush, you're not selecting white.
No, I'm kind of selecting here. I've got the opacity at about 40%.
Okay. Of the brush.
Yeah, and then I'm just gonna start.
Oh, that's nice. Look how soft and light that brush is.
Yeah.
It's got a really nice textured edge to it.
Well, and we're gonna mess with that edge too.
Ooh, okay.
So I'm gonna make one sort of hero cloud.
Okay, a hero cloud. And now, in film terminology, that's usually like the most proud element of a scene, right? The hero sort of situation. So that's where that term comes from. And oh my gosh, you just picked like a different color.
Yeah. So I'm like I said, I'm using this almost like if we were painting in oils.
Yeah.
I'm using this like as a palette of the colors.
Yeah.
So
okay.
that way, yeah, because sometimes like it's hard enough to paint. It's kind of good if I'm just giving myself a little bit of an edge. So I'm not trying to think so much about value, or I'm not having to make up all these things in my head. In this case, in film, a lot of times a production designer will be showing stuff to the director. The director's already chosen this, or the production designer's already chosen this.
Yeah.
So then it's kind of my job to make it pretty.
Well, I love the fact that you're using the photo reference directly. That's like such a helpful tip. Why use colors? Be careful about that symbolic sort of colors. Uh-oh.
We got it.
Oh no. Are we good? What happened?
It
My
crashed
computer
on
died.
me.
Oh no.
Oh no, I see.
Please hold my friends while my computer reboots.
Yeah. Oh no.
There we go.
It's just.
You're okay. The good news is my computer didn't really crash. It's just the cord came out. So all we gotta do is get us all hooked up by our fabulous director and we'll be back. But what I was saying about the clouds is that I love the idea that you can actually just pick the colors right off the photograph. Like, why use your brain? You don't need that. You've got the real world all around you that you can actually just steal ideas from. And I think that's something important that people need to remember is that, you've got this reference, you've got real world, you've got the picture of the bunny that you can really color pick from. You don't have to use white. You don't have to get into that trap of sky blue, grass green,
Yeah, because it can be kind of a headache. And even if you're going to be doing something very, very stylized, I think it's good to look at some images that you like.
Yeah.
And begin to see, okay, well, what is the color palette? Why do I like this?
Yeah.
And then you can start, and again, like I said before, just thinking about, but my
your Cintiq seems to have turned off. Oh no, I don't know why.
Do you want to hear a joke?
I do.
How many screenwriters does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
I told you I'm not changing the light bulb.
Oh! Pardon me,
Joke.
I'm gonna have to sneak in here and check out your Cintiq for a second. I'm so sorry, guys. Oh, there we go. This must have gotten sorted. And now we're all back. All right, so thank you so much for bearing with us while we tripped over a cord here at Adobe Live. But Paul is gonna get started in on making this beautiful bunny from his reference from his director.
Yes. So, I've just got this sort of blocked in cloud.
Yeah.
I've got the smudge tool.
Ooh, okay.
And let's see.
Now, do you use the smudge tool or do you use smudge brushes?
Well, that's a good question. So, we've got the spatter brush.
Yes.
And so that's the brush that I like for the smudge tool.
Ooh, yeah. Is it? Okay.
So, and actually, this is my desert island brush. This is my favorite brush.
If he was on a desert island, this would be the brush. Hey, that's a really good thing for the Chattin Win. So you guys, think about which brush you would want on a desert island. And that's what I want you to put in the chat for the Chattin Win.
Yeah, so what I think is good about this guy is...
Oh, are you erasing with him?
No, I'm smudging.
Oh my gosh, it looks like you're erasing. Do you see that great detail? Gosh, you've only used 2 brushes, and this already looks like the most realistic cloud I've ever seen. This is nuts.
Fun. Let's see.
Wow. So you're using the smudge tool. So this is actually, you're using the brush in the smudge tool. Okay, that's awesome. What a cool combination that you're doing here.
Well, and because I think even though the bunny brush is really cool, you can sort of see the edges, it's still not quite realistic. And I think, for how much, like I said, I've only used Photoshop. That's my whole career has been using Photoshop. There are things that you can do that are just kind of computery unless you go in by hand and...
Yeah, if you use that 9-point round brush, you can just see that. It's just a big streak of just color, and it's not really, it doesn't have that feeling like it's really been painted. Well,
and also, I put in the, in the brush folder, there's this big old dumb,
just go
simple,
put a big stroke. Show the fine people what happens,
So one of the things, if we look at the reference, I'm going to just grab that sort of dark color.
Yeah.
And you just need that variety of texture. So we've got just even having this smooth.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of get that.
It really grounds it.
Yeah. And what I like is just, as a kid, I just loved the idea of flying and I just I always liked looking at clouds and stuff. And so what I'll be listening to music and just geeking out on the detail and be thinking, if I was in a plane, what would all these little details? So I'm just kind of making this stuff up as far as what the details would be. But again, the reference, one of the things that I'm thinking about is we can kind of see where the light source is coming from. And you can even see that from the trees.
Yeah.
That we kind of get the idea of where the light is. You can even go in, sorry.
Don't be sorry, you're doing great.
Oh,
it's such a beautiful cloud already.
But wait, I cannot believe I am
what are you looking
having
for?
a brain fart. The burn tool, dodge tool.
Is it underneath the burn tool? Press and hold. You're right. Where is it?
Where is the...
I can't help you here. It's not there.
It wasn't where I thought it would be.
How many Adobe employees does it take to find the
Well,
dodge
we
tool?
can do it a different way.
Okay.
So I've got, that, I've got the big old dumb brush.
The big old dumb brush.
And we can, a lot of times, like, I will just try different types of layers. So this is overlay.
Okay.
And
Ooh, look how pretty.
yeah, that can kind of work. Let's try color dodge. So all I'm kind of doing is sort of pushing and pulling the contrast.
We found out where the dodge.
Oh, where is it? Where is it?
It's under the little 3 dots right there.
What?
Bless you, Howard Penske.
Thank you, Howard Penske. Penske?
Penske.
Aw. Thank you, Howard.
He's very charming.
Aw.
He's a regular here on Adobe Live.
Oh, good.
One of our evangelists.
So you can see I'm dodging.
I do see that. And now tell the fine people out there what dodge does.
Well, it goes back to old photography, right?
Yes, it does.
So in developing, you would have like a little wand thing, right, for the dodging, and then the burn.
Burning, it was the same way, right? There was some
Right.
other chemical process.
Yeah.
So these tools that are in Photoshop, they actually harken back to the old photography days, including all the blending modes that you see in your layer stack. It's all old chemical processes they used to do to bring out different parts of photos.
Right. So we can also go in
Whoa, look at all that tools.
and again, we're thinking about the light direction.
Right. We were imagining it's coming from the same direction our photograph from our director came from.
And I'm thinking I got a little bit warm,
Okay.
but I'm just gonna cool these things down. So we've got our gradient on one layer. We've got our cloud,
On the next.
and do you know why we do that?
Why do we do that, Paul? Tell me why.
Because we want to be able to do that.
Yeah, we want to be able to move it.
Yeah. So, like on a lot of films, we'll kind of do the old thing that they used to do in animation, where they would multiplane.
Right.
So we're actually multiplaning it in Photoshop. I mean,
Right.
a lot of times we'll have like one file that a technical director will then separate out all those layers in Photoshop, so that we've
Absolutely.
got maybe 5 layers of clouds.
And then they get to
And-
dial it in the way that they want
Yeah,
to.
because obviously the clouds that are closer to you would be moving faster, and then so
That's cool.
yeah. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some little guys
Some little guys.
and
Ooh. So you're using this to build up even more clouds.
yeah, because the lighting is in the same.
Yeah, in the same sort of direction. That makes sense. That's
Yeah.
really smart. How are we going to treat those rough edges?
I don't know. Somehow I think we might use the smudge tool.
Oh, yeah? And you've got your stipple, or I'm sorry, it's the spatter brush
Yeah.
that's in your guys' set.
Yeah,
So if
my
you're following
go-to
along,
brush.
if you're following along, you can use that spatter brush with the smudge tool and get this awesome effect like Paul.
Well, and Renee and I were talking yesterday on the phone about I guess I'm a Philistine. Is that a Philistine? What somebody, I'm horrible in that I'm not a big fan of abstract art. And then I was telling Renee that I realize clouds are abstract. I've been an abstract artist my whole life, even
Yes, you
though I
have.
don't, even though I'm not crazy about abstraction.
Isn't that funny that we all become the
We
thing that we don't want to become, just accidentally like, no, I'm an abstract painter.
Yeah, well, and also be careful of what you wish for when you were 10 years old, because
I wish I worked in the movies, and now you do.
I love Star Wars, and I think that's what's funny. You go to university, you get into arty farty films.
Yeah.
I wanted to work on like the sequel to Room with a View.
And you ended up on...
I ended up on Star Wars. Is, be careful what you wish for. When you...
A little bit of a diversion there, right? Just a little bit of a diversion. That's so funny. So painting clouds, clearly, I mean, you're excellent at it. Can you tell us about any famous clouds you've painted? I know maybe the clouds in Up.
Well, some of the clouds.
Those are yours, right?
Well, a lot of the interactive ones are volumetric.
Of course. So that means they're actually a particle simulation.
Yeah, but I know that they took a research trip to Venezuela.
Yeah.
And before all the troubles. And I remember there's one shot in the movie which was directly from their research trip where they said, this one shot, we want this. And so so I was doing kind of what we see here.
Yeah.
But just to tell one quick little thing, like the end of Ratatouille, and we include that image, or I sent you that image.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things was Brad Bird, the director, was telling me that sunsets symbolically mean the ending of something or the beginning of something.
Right.
And so this was kind of the end of the movie, but it was the beginning of Remy. For those of you who haven't...
Oh, no, spoiler alert. Ratatouille is going to get ruined for everyone now.
Yeah. But I just thought, I hadn't really put that together, and it was kind of neat that Brad was saying, because it was a new beginning for Remy, the rat, that he was beginning his restaurant. And but one of the things that I did in the painting that you'll see is I put some Cirrus Clouds, almost like a nice smell. So that you've got Remy, the sign of Remy. There's a rat in a chef's hat on the sign of the restaurant, and if you look at the sky, there's like a little
a scent trail.
Yeah, and so I put that in. Brad liked it.
I love that.
But
that's so cool.
Speaking of Cirrus Clouds, let's...
Ooh. Oh, wait. Before we get into Cirrus Clouds, I'm really excited about that. But my friends, it is Chattin Win. And now what you have to do is log in to behance.com, chat, and you might win. And right now what we're giving away is a coupon code so that you can make custom stickers at Sticker Mule. So please put your favorite brush in the chat, that one brush that you would take with you to a desert island. And then, after a little bit of time, while everybody has some time to chat, the magical AI that controls all of us here at Adobe will put the winner up there at the top. So yeah. So now we just have to let people chat and wait to see who wins. How do we chat about brushes? What's your favorite brush, my friends? You can win.
Oh, sorry.
We've got people chatting. So
I'm sorry.
You're doing fine.
I'm
don't
interrupting
be sorry.
the chatter.
You're not. You see them all there?
Hi.
You see all the internet people?
Hi, internet.
And all we got to do is wait for our magical AI. It's going to pop up a name here.
Okay. I get to stop
This
teaching.
is Paul's first. Yeah, exactly. It's like a break for you. Haley Kirksey Graham, congratulations. You have won. You're going to get that sticker mule, and I can't wait to see what stickers you created, and I hope I can have one. Will you give me one, please? Congratulations, and thank you so much for being a part of Adobe Live. All right, so
yeah.
Now we're back to your cloud, and now you've used a couple of the brushes. So far we've used the spatter brush with smudge, and then we've also used the bunny brush, but you were just about to get into some magical Cirrus example, and I'm really excited about this.
Okay, so this one, it doesn't really matter. Actually, it doesn't really matter which brush you choose.
Okay.
What we're going to do, we got the... Pardon me.
Not at all.
We got the brush. Actually, maybe we will use the bunny brush. Maybe that might be good.
Okay.
Or we could use the Cloud Maker.
Cloud Maker.
I'm setting my brush to dissolve.
Okay, and how did you do that again? You did it up in the top, right there.
Right up
dissolve.
there. So instead of normal,
So that's a blending mode, and that blending mode gets applied to your brush. So sometimes you can do that on a layer, and that'll affect the whole layer, right? But this is just the strokes of the brush.
Right. And so what we're going to do...
Whoa.
Oh, actually, I don't like that.
It's all sparkly.
Yeah, I know. I think maybe I'll do splat. Ooh, maybe let's try this. No, I don't like that. But I think one thing that I do want to tell people just, I mean, because sometimes people will ask, like, well, what's your day like? My day is filled with constant judging of myself and failure. No, but it's this. I guess what I'm trying to, one of the things that, no, I'm serious. Like
I know you're serious.
There was an art teacher that was saying, if you're looking at your work and going, that's a good thing, because you're judging.
Yeah.
You're making decisions.
You're seeking a higher place.
Yeah, and so that's what's kind of good. You know, you don't have to follow exactly the ingredients. You can, try something. Like every time I'm trying to mix layers, I'll be like, oh, what about overlay? What about hard light? What about color dodge?
Yeah,
and so all these things.
That critique is good.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna, and I know this is looking kind of silly, and it's looking abstract.
It is looking abstract. I'm sorry that you are an abstract painter of
I am
clouds.
an abstract painter.
I apologize to young Paul, who would have been very upset to learn this. However, this is, I'm so excited to see what happens with these clouds, because Paul described this to me. And
so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go. We're gonna motion blur the heck out of this.
Okay. Oh my gosh. That's cheating, Paul.
Yeah, it is cheating. And then, I haven't set up, I always do a hotkey for the...
Oh yeah, sorry. He's working off my laptop, so there's no hotkeys that are set for you. Sorry. Yeah. Oh man.
So...
You just give it a little bit of a wispy...
Yeah.
Holy crappers.
Well, and again, you guys can see these are all things that we got all these layers that we're working on. We've got all the layers of clouds. We've got the gradient, and then we've got these cirrus clouds. And if you think about a composition, you could have these cirrus clouds echoing something emotionally. If it's really busy, maybe it's a chaotic scene.
Yeah,
you could have these cirrus clouds pointing towards something.
Like the repetition of them could be something as well. Like there's fence posts or something that you're trying to I get what you're saying. Like there's a visual way to communicate. The background is part of your scene and your story.
So I've just...
Those are really nice.
Well, it's subtle. But you realize, like, obviously if I was a better artist right now in the morning, I could.
Paul, you're doing amazing. This is the most realistic cloud, and you've only used 2 brushes. Now, were you about to switch to another brush?
Well, I was gonna maybe go to... Yes.
Heavy smear. So if you guys are following along and using your brushes out there, he's got the heavy smear crayon.
Right. So I'm just gonna
see what that one's like.
Just gonna break things up, because like I said, I'm always trying to make things not look computery.
Right. It's important for it not to look computery.
Yeah. To kind of get it.
So
a little bit
are
of
you
hand.
erasing or smudging?
Yeah, I'm erasing right now.
Ooh,
Just trying.
So you're using it as an eraser just to get a little bit of texture there. That's really nice.
And I don't know. This is and with these guys, you can kind of stretch and squeeze them any way that you want. So just to show you guys too, we could, you could always copy and paste elements in. But just to show you the danger of that.
Yeah, look, it just doesn't quite.
Yeah, well, because you've got lots of artifact.
Yeah, you can tell it's not crisp. It's not painted, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the matte painting part comes into play. Is like you've got to use your talent to make it look.
And you can. You can make it work. You can, but it is a lot of.
It's a lot of finagling, it sounds like. It's better to just rely on your skills.
Yeah, because, I mean, the good thing that, 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 I mean, photographs do give you is sort of an authenticity.
Yeah.
That
is so crunchy.
Yeah. But what we're going to do is...
I see. So you made it black and white, and then you turned it to screen.
Yeah.
So that you can have a little bit of a fluff, and then you're like turning the opacity down. And now
Yeah.
you're going to erase some of it?
Yeah, yeah. But still, it's... what am I trying to say? You know, when you look at it close, you can see all the artifacting.
Right.
But again, if it's like I was telling you about the one from Up, where they actually, showed me this photograph. For that one, it was so important that I went into that photograph and repainted on top of it by hand, with a smudge tool. Because you could go in with the smudge tool and kind of by hand.
Yeah, just like sort of get all those little artifacts out of there.
Yeah, get all those little hoo-has.
Oof, that's a lot, though.
Yeah, but I think, and that's why a lot of times, I mean, especially with animated films, it might not be worth it. But even just getting back to this guy, what I think is kind of neat is you can sort of be a little bit rough with it.
Ooh.
And let's and again, I've got the clouds on separate layers so that
so
these guys could be
nice. So you could do a little bit of like parallax.
Yeah, you could do a little cute, cool little animation. And I'm gonna copy these bad boys and
these rough riders.
Yeah. And I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think I'm going to.
We're going to make our director happy with our cloud. That's going to be perfect. Oh, like little puffs.
Yeah. Let's actually use Mr. That crayon-y guy.
Yeah. What I noticed about the wax crayon guy is that he's got dual brush on.
Oh.
Do you guys know what dual brush is? Anybody out there in the computer-y land know about dual brush?
I know.
You know? You know? So maybe if we switch to my screen for a second, I'm going to show you guys where that option is. So here's my screen, and this is the heavy smear wax crayon that Paul's working with. And this is dual brush. Here's my brush settings right here in Photoshop. That's how you edit any of your brushes and get them just the right way you want them. So here's the dual brush setting. And what the dual brush does is it takes one stamp and another stamp and sort of subtracts them. Now, what's a stamp? What the heck are you talking about, Renee? So the stamp is the shape of your brush. So if you had like a round brush, that round circle is the stamp. Or like the bunny brush, that little weird bunny shape is the stamp. So dual brush takes two stamps, subtracts one from the other. So you get a more interesting, more sort of textured look. And so here's the option. Like I said, you got this tiny little checkbox to show if it's on or off. And if I turn it off, you can see how different the brush is. It doesn't have the same sort of texture. Now you can pretty much use anything as a dual brush. You can see this has got this selected as it's sort of the way that it's cut in half as the two stamps it's combining. But I could choose a different stamp right here. And wow, that's even really different. So anyway, that's a big green mess, but I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about dual brush in case you wanted to use it in your sort of brush making skills. So let's turn back to the most beautiful clouds I've ever seen in my life.
No. Well, and you can, I don't know.
It looks even better than, like, this is so realistic, and you use two brushes. I can't believe it.
Well, and it can kind of get a little hypnotic, because I think you just start, like I said, you just, I mean, this is what my day is like. You're just going in, you're like, well, what if I
do this?
Yeah.
What if I do this? Abstract painter friend Paul.
I know. Abstraction. You become what you most
fear.
Well, no, because when my wife and I go to museums, she just finds it so funny because, like, we'll go into the modern wing and I'll just be practically running. Like, oh, there's a big canvas that's painted one color.
Yeah.
$3 million.
I don't understand it either. I like my art to be representational. You know, I like, and I don't understand the divide between fine art and commercial art.
No, because
This is art, Paul. You are an artist. You work at Pixar. You have done beautiful clouds for every movie, I'm sure, and won't tell us what's, all the beautiful clouds you've made in all the movies because you can't even remember. But, this is art.
Oh,
How is this any less than something in a museum?
Well, it kind of, in a way, in the old days, they used to make, they would make beautiful art for churches, and
Yeah, that's true.
So I kind of see this as more illustration, or because I always loved the illustrators. But then they had the Pixar art show. We debuted that show at the Museum of Modern Art.
Right.
In New
Well, that's
York.
good.
Yeah.
Getting some representation for the commercial artists out there.
I know. My stupid painting was in the same place as Picasso.
That's right, Picasso.
Yeah.
Paul Topolos is coming. Oh, no, you've got a different one now, don't you?
No, this is still my go-to brush.
Oh, okay. Look
Because
at those edges. They're so nice, Paul.
Oh, thank you. Well, and you can use the Cloud Maker brush as a, because you can get some, some neat little wispy guys. Because I think, again, when you're doing this by hand, that's where I think the beauty of it not looking so computery. Because even with gorgeous volumetric clouds, sometimes they can't quite.
Yeah, they look computery.
That there will be like an even. And so that's why I think it's kind of neat. We can have some wispy guys.
That is neat.
You're
really good at it. Like every little wispy bit, I love.
So I just want to look
at the
reference.
Got it.
And because sometimes we can learn some neat stuff. So I kind of like how we can sort of see here, there's a sort of shadow pocket. Mm-hmm. Even though the light is coming from here, there's some neat
highlights.
Highlights. So
you gonna make some of those?
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm gonna steal this chance to talk a little bit about the brush that you just had, and request that you all come to my screen, my friends. Hop on over here. And Paul was using the Cloud Maker brush, and there's another really cool aspect about the Cloud Maker brush I want to point out. I've got it selected right here, and as I'm drawing, I just put my Cintiq pen down, and you see how it's like bloop, 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 bloop? That's called build up. So that's right here in the option box. That's build up. Now normally when you just put a brush stroke down, that's all it does. It just does one stamp of the brush stroke, and that's it. But this one has build up on, so let's turn it back on and I'll show you. Build up literally lets it just and just add extra. So it's kind of the perfect addition to your cloud brushes. So I wanted to point that out. So now back to the beautiful screen of Paul, and not to my gross screen with weird lumps everywhere.
No. I was just putting some little foggy areas. And I guess I do just want to say too, as you're working, the beauty about Photoshop is its malleability, and that's why you see so many concept designs being done in this. I mean, I remember when I was working at Skywalker Ranch, Doug Chang would do these gorgeous gouaches.
Yeah.
That would just be so beautiful, and he's really fast, and it would he'd be doing other stuff, but it would be about a week, and there would just be this work of beautiful art. And when I was there, that was when I was first beginning to see people like Ryan Church and Eric Tiemens doing these digital paintings, because what you realize in film is people will change their mind or have a note. So if you have a painting, a beautiful gouache,
what are you going to do with that?
And you have George Lucas saying, well, I think it should be a little bit more blue.
And it's almost on the other end. I saw somebody in the chat mention like, oh, you could do this in Houdini, or you could do this in blah, blah, blah. And, you're absolutely right. If you wanted 3D clouds and you wanted to render something volumetric, you could go to a 3D application and do that. But it's almost like there's a spectrum of like, it's too hard to change a real painting, but Photoshop is easy to change. But then on the other end, that 3D, no, that's too hard too. You get too deep into it and you're like, this is not actually easy to change. It's going to take 10 more hours to render that change that you want. Do you really want to wait? You know, and so this is like a good shortcut is in the middle. It's just use Photoshop. Just quickly comp it together.
Well, I think too, you have to be thinking about what is this going to be used for?
Yeah.
So if this was for 99% of you know what people are doing, this would be fine. If you're doing a movie about World War II airplanes flying through clouds, this is not.
No, you're gonna need those poofs and everything. Yeah.
but I think, you know, a lot of we are always thinking about what's the best. We try to do the best solution.
Yeah. What's going to give you the most leeway, the most ability to change it? Because I know it's a fast-paced process making movies. Change things all the time, make different decisions.
No, and a lot of times you don't really know until you see it up, you know, up on screen. And as
I'm like that too. People say do thumbnails and stuff, and I'm like,
yeah,
thumbnails ain't happening.
I know, but I was fun. It was funny. I was just talking to Ralph Eggleston yesterday, the production designer, and I was telling him about how on Wall-E I was doing these big nebulas, and I don't know if you know Dice Tasumi.
I do.
Yeah, but Dice, we share an office, and I was doing a big painting, and Dice was like, "Don't you want to do a little thumbnail?" And I was like, "No, man, I'm on a roll. Ralph is loving everything I do.
Get off my back, Dice."
Yeah. And then Ralph came in and looked at my painting that I had, you know, spent all this time on. He was like, "There's so much wrong with this. I can't even talk."
I know
and
that
then
feel.
left.
Oh my god.
But I love him. He's
No. Ralph's great. I also know Ralph.
Oh, yeah.
But that is so funny because I do the exact same thing. I just want to get into it. For some reason, I feel like I don't have an imagination, Paul, which is what's funny. I feel like I can't imagine it. I need to see it. Like, I would want to have at least this many clouds so I could start.
Right.
And then from this point, maybe I'd make a thumbnail. You know, like a composite, a messy.
And I think maybe that's an interesting point to just tell people. I mean, I worked with a guy named Peter Chan that is amazing. And it seemed like he could just think, you know, he already had it in his head, and he just
hate those people.
I know. I do too. But
if you're one of those people, no, I'm kidding. We don't really hate those people.
But different people have got different workflows. Because for me, I have to kind of barf something onto the page.
We're just barfers here. We gotta barf onto the page, guys.
Yeah, because you gotta have something to react to.
Exactly.
And that's why you can see that I'm trying to find some slightly interesting shapes, again, abstract shapes.
I've got a question in the chat. Marc Jacobs wants to know if there's a tutorial on painter-like brushes for Photoshop, because he really likes that build-up technique.
Wait, Marc Jacobs, the fashion designer?
It must be. It must be.
Nice.
He's watching. So, Marc Jacobs, fashion designer, thank you for joining us. You know, I don't think there's something like that specifically on painter-like brushes. However, it's a great idea, and I'm going to take that back to Kyle Webster and see if Kyle's got any ideas. And then hopefully I'll be able to get Kyle on this show to talk to you guys about brushes. So I'll put that in my notes, and hopefully we'll have something soon that'll answer your questions. So stay tuned, Mark. Not today, I don't have any answers for you, but perhaps in the future. And then a little time check. We got only about 7 minutes left.
Good Lord.
I know, right? Time goes fast. So don't worry. I told you that, remember?
When
we were doing the interview for this, he's like, I'm going to do clouds. I'm going to do a character. I'm going to do this. And I'm like, it's an hour. It's going to go fast.
But I wanted to do the...
And Paul, we want to keep you all day, but I know you've probably got some secret movie that everyone's dying to know about that you have to go back and work on.
No, I'm working on an Alaska Airlines plane.
Oh, I heard about... Yeah, you told me about that. So this Alaska Airlines plane is going to be wrapped in Toy Story?
Yeah, the tail fin.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's going to be cool.
No, but even speaking of planes, I just my wife and I were in Tanzania, and we got to fly on this little plane, and it was so small that they were like, "You get in the co-pilot seat."
What?
So I got to be, and that was like bucket list.
That's
But-
amazing.
But I just love clouds, even though.
Yeah.
But it was amazing to fly through them and just to actually be, because we'd be flying through the clouds, and so when the thing that I really love about this job sometimes is just losing yourself. You can see how when you're looking close up, maybe a couple hours could go by of you just I'm doing a little.
It's gorgeous. I really love it. It's the fluffiest cloud I've ever seen, honestly. So Jan Erik has a question, and
Yes.
maybe you'll know something, but maybe I'm not
Yes,
sure.
Jan Erik.
Is it bad form to finalize your painting with LUTs or other color grading filters? Do you have any emotions about using, like Paul's like, what?
What's a LUTs filter? What is a LUTs filter?
A LUT is a lookup table. So it's about, colors are really numbers in Photoshop. I know he's taking notes. Colors are really colors are numbers, right?
Yeah.
So you could change all of the colors of an image by changing all the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And usually a lookup table will refer it to a different, like,
Yeah.
oh, this blue is actually that blue, and
Right.
that green is
Oh.
actually that. So basically he wants to know if you use like compositing techniques on top. Like, do you do a wash on top? Do you do like a gradient on top? Do you do that kind of stuff?
Not me.
Yeah.
But the lighting, the technical directors sometimes will on top. They'll do like a bloom or because
Or glows or
Yeah, 'cause-
darken or whatever.
because that's one of the issues still now is the high dynamic range.
Yeah.
Because we can't really do that. We
Yeah.
can't paint
No.
brighter than white.
No.
So
We need 16-bit color on everything, please. Like, let's get to it.
But if you're talking
32-bit
about
color.
just getting to me, anything that works, anything that will get you to an image that's pretty, I say that's legal.
Agreed.
You can,
You hear that, Jan? Use whatever you like.
yeah, I mean, because we were talking yesterday about, that people only use 10% of their brain. I only use 2% of Photoshop. I mean, because we were talking yesterday about I was Marie Kondoing my
the brushes. Yeah.
And pretty much I only was using the brushes that we were using today.
Yep.
And I've been using just those for a few weeks.
And now you guys have them. You guys have Paul's amazing cloud brushes.
Yeah,
It's just those.
because I think, I mean, like the last session was those brushes were so beautiful.
Yeah, with Natalie.
And that's, I guess, and that's different than film production, because those are gorgeous, papery, textural things that wouldn't really quite work in film production. And that's what's kind of neat, is you can just the variety.
It is nice. Brushes, that's why I wanted to do this show, is because there's so many things you can do with them, and there's no wrong way. And then also, Marie Kondo, your brushes, that is just the best term ever. And like, that's something that we're going to have to talk to Kyle Webster about too, because he needs Marie Kondo in his life.
Well, yeah, because
He's like, brushes.
well, because when I'd be opening up my and then I do look.
Yeah, just those. That's all we've got.
That's all
We've got.
all I need. And I don't only do clouds. I'm a designer.
No, I know you don't only do clouds.
no,
We're just talking about clouds.
But well, I guess my point is just even like for architectural stuff, these brushes, maybe not the cloud brush, but this, this brush.
That smudge, yeah.
Yeah, is something that I use all the time, and let's see.
It's so nice.
Well, and maybe one last thing, we can put a TIE fighter in.
Really?
No.
Aw.
Well,
I wanted a TIE
okay, we
fighter.
can put a TIE fighter in.
Oh my gosh, she's doing it. Oh my gosh, she's doing it.
And Renee, what color are TIE fighters' lasers?
Red.
Oh no!
Oh, I'm a fake nerd.
Yes, They're green.
All right, friends. Well, this is actually it. We have to sign off now. I'm being told by my director. We are done with this show after your beautiful TIE fighter. I know you took it away. Oh my gosh. Don't
For
be
legal
sorry.
reasons.
Don't be sorry. Well, thank you so much for joining me on Better Know a Brush. I hope you learned a lot from our dear friend here, Paul. I know I did. And please enjoy those brushes. And if you draw something with those brushes, tag us at Adobe Drawing. So we're on Instagram and Twitter most actively. And just like make something cool with Paul's brushes and tag us. Thank you for being here, Paul.
Renee.
I had such a great time.
Oh, me too.
All
Thank
right.
you, everybody.
Bye.